Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Uh, you ever hear about deep fakes? Well, there was a recent one just posted with Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. And for those of you who don't know what a deep fake is, it's where like another person's face is transposed onto another person's face, but not like a Photoshop, more of like on a video. So like say my face right here, they transpose like Ryan Gosling's face onto my face. And that's essentially what a deep fake is. And this was used in one of my favorite movies of all time. That being Back to the Future, where Doc Brown is being played by Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland is playing Marty McFly. And you can find the video on YouTube. It's actually pretty interesting. It's about a 4 minute long video. I end up watching it myself. I was actually really intrigued to see what it was going to look like because I didn't really think it was going to be that good. And I always thought to myself that if they were going to remake Back to the Future, who are they going to use to play those characters? Because those characters are iconic. I mean, how could you replace Marty McFly and Doc Brown? It just, in my head, it never thought it would work. And from what I've seen of this video, like, it could work. It could work with Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. Whenever I see this deep fake, it kind of brings me back and like it I don't know, it just works. It works, okay? And if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out. It seems like this one's making its rounds on the internet pretty well, unlike maybe other deepfakes you've seen. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up because to me it was really cool. It was very interesting to see someone do this, and it's gonna be a weird time in history that's gonna be coming because we may not know what videos are real and which is fake. We just may not know, and it's that disparity between what is real and what isn't real is it's it's not going to be clear in the future if these deep fakes just continue to get better and better and better. I mean, I've seen comedians transpose Elon Musk's face onto their face and do comedy skits just based on that alone. Those are essentially the most noteworthy deepfakes I've personally seen. You may have seen other ones. I don't know. I mean, you guys can let me know. That'd be much appreciated. But yeah, just kind of going on to the next topic. I know, not a very soft transition, but we're just doing this for the funsies because I love it and because I enjoy it. So thanks for being a part of the ride. We have leaked images from TCL. They have prototype phones that have expandable slide out displays. So you may have seen the folding displays, whether that's the Galaxy Fold, the Galaxy Flip, if I'm not mistaken, the Razer phone, and all those different like phone vendors that are making these new form factor displays. And this one actually I think is kind of unique in the sense that the display, instead of flipping like that, you're kind of pulling it like a scroll, actually, like two scrolls just coming apart. And it's kind of interesting to think about the implementation of the two scrolls. Well, I guess one scroll rather. But you go from like a normal a smartphone like footprint to something that can come out long ways and really be like useful and something different that we've never seen before. I mean, it may be better than, the implementations of the Galaxy Fold or the Razer phone and those things like that. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see the phone be put through its paces, whether it's, dust and dirt resistance, at least initially, if they could kind of get that down. Personally, I've never been a big fan of something that has a ton of moving parts. Like, the simpler a phone is, the less moving parts it has, usually means the better the phone's going to work. I mean, that's why we have these solid pieces of metal and glass to form your phone. I mean, it's proven it works. You can have your dust resistance, your water resistance. That's all great. It works. I mean, you look at electric cars versus, internal combustion engines. The internal combustion engine cars, there's so much more to go wrong because there's significantly more moving parts and stuff like that. And with an electric car, you're not going to have much of that. I mean, you have your electric motor that's going to be turning and things like that, but the failure rate is going to be considerably lower because of how many moving parts there are. And I kind of apply this to technology as well, where if something has a moving part, like, I mean, we had the old flip phones of past of what we know as like a traditional phone where you open and close it. I mean, you could break those fairly easy. I mean, you can break newer smartphones fairly easy, but when you have those moving parts, it makes things more complicated, especially for manufacturing and different things like that. But I'm excited to see where the space goes. I mean, maybe we could have a folding phone or a phone that has a slide out display. I mean, you got to think about it like this. The technology that they're coming up with and all these things that they're trying to innovate in may not lead to something in the short term, but it could lead to another innovation or invention in the long term. And so it can be beneficial long down the road, even though this was, invented or made in 2020. So it's kind of cool to see a bunch of new players coming into the game. I mean, TCL, I think they make a few phones right now, but they're budget phones. They're not really high end or mid tier. And I imagine something like this would have a premium price tag on it. I mean, it has a cutout display as well as the rollout display as well. So it's kind of trying to merge those two things. I mean, I'd be very interested to see the internals of this phone and a teardown of this phone and the battery that it could have as well. And maybe if they could double stack or double layer a battery so you could get an even greater screen time on a device of this sort. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see where this is going and what's happening next here, and we'll keep checking in on it, see if we get some prototypes in hand and see what's happening in this space. But to kind of move on to a unrelated technology, story, we have a story that is still kind of close to my heart because I do enjoy the GM brand of products. I still think, even though the issues that I've had with my car, especially with things like electrical, that it's still a good brand and it's still a brand that I like to support and to see where everything's are going. And I'm talking about General Motors. And I mean, I would love to test drive the 2020 Corvette, the mid-engine, pretty much supercar, American made. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, really, unless you want to talk maybe Ford GT, but that's more of in a class of its own, and it's not a mass market car as the new Chevy Corvette would be. But GM is leaving Australia Thailand, and New Zealand. And they will be axing their Holden brand, which I've actually been able to see for myself in the first hand. I mean, I went over to Australia and I saw those cars. They have a pretty cool logo. They have like a little lion on it, and they're like, with that. Well, for those of you who can't see, I'm just making like a little claw orientation with my hand. But yeah, the Holden brand, you actually may have seen some of these cars be rebranded as Chevys here in the United States. So, for example, the Chevy SS, which is now discontinued, was based on a Holden vehicle. And there are some other Holden brands that they've brought over here to be Chevys, but I don't know off the top of my head. The only one I know was the Chevy SS from like the mid 2000s that you could get. But they're going to be trying to wind down sales, engineering, operations uh, in 2020. Wow, in 2021. So it's kind of sad to see that go because actually the Holden brand is a historic car maker of Australia. And you hate to see something like that go. And I would love to see maybe that brand live on, whether they could transition to electric cars or maybe hydrogen fuel cells, whatever that may be. Maybe they could revive it sometime. I mean, Ford brought back the Ford Bronco. Chevy's bringing back the Trailblazer and the Hummer EV for that matter. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's sad to see that they're going to be getting out of those markets. I mean, GM has 828 employees in Australia and New Zealand and another 1,500 in Thailand. So I would love to see that those employees are able to maybe transition to another job or something of that sort in the automotive industry or whatever they're wanting to do. So we'll see how that goes. But we also have news of Jeff Bezos, and he is pledging $10 billion to launch the Earth Fund for combating climate change, which is ridiculous. Like, I'm fairly certain that's more than Donald Trump's net worth, if I'm not mistaken. But to see Jeff Bezos pledge this amount of money on top of the things that he's done with Amazon, and Amazon has started to buy electric vehicles to deliver its Amazon products or the Amazon products that you can buy from their website. They've started to go all electric in that, transportation and delivery of their goods, which is great to see. I mean, I'm definitely a big fan of it. I mean, you've probably noticed that this podcast is, dedicated to all things automotive and travel and technology. And essentially, that's really why I started a podcast like this, because I found that I love the travel aspect, but also I love doing it in whatever form of vehicle that is, whether it's plane, train, boat, automobile, whatever it is, bicycle even, if it's electric or whatever. I mean, I'm all for it, and like finding new ways and better ways of doing something to move us forward to kind of help humanity and you know have us be sustainable in doing so. And so when I see Jeff Bezos pledging this money to help do things like that, I mean that's a huge thing. I mean, this guy's net worth is out of the roof and the richest man in the world. I mean, for those of you who don't know, he has his own rocket company like Elon Musk, but it's called Blue Origin, and they've been really ramping up their productions of rockets to go into space and different things like that. Of course, he has Amazon, and it seems like he's really trying to change the world. And a lot of people see Jeff Bezos kind of as not as great as Elon Musk, but when he's doing things like that, you kind of have to put him, close up there, and what he's doing and trying to change the world and make it more sustainable, and what he's doing. I mean, I could definitely see someday Bezos and Musk partnering up to, help change the world for better. So it's good to see Jeff Bezos making a difference like that. I mean, I've tried to make my difference, whether it's, doing smaller things, not donating $10 billion, because obviously I don't have that, but trying to use a lunch container that is reusable, that I'm not using a bunch of like Ziploc bags, and using my thermos to refill my bottle full of water every day at work, and different things like that, and just trying to recycle more, obviously. And it'll be an interesting time to see what else the general consumer like myself can do to kind of help change that narrative, and see what we can do about that. And then Tesla is working on technology to revolutionize the electrical grid with distributed solar power. And essentially what the Tesla solar is they develop solar panels and solar roof tiles to produce your own solar energy and store your own energy in their battery packs that you mount in your house or outside of your house, and trying to use a combination of that stored energy that you have from the solar power and the energy coming from the grid. And so maybe if you're on an off-peak day where you're not producing that much solar power, then that's when your batteries will kick in, or a combination of the batteries and the grid to power your home and different things like that. But yeah, this is interesting to see. It seems like I don't know how much of this is like a hardware implementation, as this is as much as a like proof of concept or an idea that they could use to make a grid that's more sustainable and that works better overall. So, well, that was all the stories that I have for this podcast. I know the last podcast was pretty short. This podcast is pretty short. I definitely would like to get into the more long form podcasts, having different guests on, whether that's Trevor or Ronnie or whoever it is. I mean, even if it's mediocre entertainment, that'd be cool to have someone on, talking about the new PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox. So yeah, if you're watching online, like and subscribe to the video. Much appreciated. Maybe leave a comment, whatever. I mean, if you don't want to, that's cool too. Just keep her moving. And if you just listen to the audio version, thank you for listening. And this is episode number 11. You can follow the Full Chat Podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Full Chat Podcast. And you can follow me, your host, Eric Roberts, at _Eric Roberts. And thank you for watching.